Welcome, everyone. You are joining us for the first and maybe only episode of Two Guys from Chicago Talk About Purpose. My name is Andy Peel, and I'm part of this larger community with Andy Swindler of other purpose coaches and purpose guides. And we are here to talk to Andy about what it means to be a purpose coach. So Andy comes into this work after a degree in journalism from Northwestern, 14 years running his own marketing agency, recently sold that, and has been part of the True Purpose Institute community for the last few years, and has got some really interesting perspectives on what it means to know your purpose, what it means to find a purpose, and also what it means to actually be a True Purpose Institute coach. So, Andy, welcome.
Hey, Brandon, thank you.
All right.
Always happy to talk about purpose.
Yeah, right on. Me too. So, Andy, how did you first get introduced to purpose work?
Well, I would say formally about 4 years ago when I met Conscious Capitalism in the Chicago chapter. It's the oldest and most active chapter of Conscious Capitalism. And one of the 4 pillars of Conscious Capitalism is higher purpose. And I had my agency at the time. So I became just very enamored with the idea of organizational purpose, and then eventually led to individual purpose, which are, as you know, very much aligned.
Cool. And so I know that higher purpose is part of the whole Conscious Capitalism credo. And so you had this agency and you're part of this Conscious Capitalism community. And then how did you find out about what it meant to actually do purpose work?
Yeah, it's funny. There's something we talk about in Conscious Capitalism, maybe more so now than back then. It's called purpose washing. So it's basically this phenomenon of well, I don't know, if somebody is really interested in purpose, but there's not necessarily a process or a deep discovery or something to really get there. It's really easy to fall back on, especially a lot of marketers are driven to do this, more of like a tagline or like a slogan or a branding statement or something like that. So, I started becoming very curious about that. And a couple of years ago, I met Tim Kelly. He was speaking at the 2016 Conscious Capitalism Conference. He did 2 back-to-back workshops. I did the first one, and I was like, I wasn't going to go to his second one, but I was so blown away. I was like, okay, I don't know what else I was going to do. I just stuck around, which was cool because the second one was more immersive. He actually took us on a guided meditation, visualization to meet the trusted source, which is one of the core principles of the True Purpose process. So I think that was the moment I started to realize, okay, there's something here. There's something deeper here. I was also really involved with a research project that year where I ended up interviewing 175 companies about their purpose. I also followed up with Tim, interviewed him about the process, and just everything started unraveling in a good way and just getting deeper into it and being like, wow, there's so much here. And it's been going on for so long. I mean, what, in 2018 now, it's probably been, 12 years or something since Tim first created the process.
Wow. So you got a chance to experience the work firsthand at that Conscious Capitalism conference. And then, but you're also, you own a building in Chicago, you've got this marketing agency. Like, when did the sense kind of occur to you, like, wait a minute, this is my work. I need to become a purpose coach?
Sure. Well, again, it goes back to Tim. All roads lead back to Tim, I guess, in the True Purpose world. So about a year ago, in the early 2017, Tim was in Chicago. The Chicago chapter of Conscious Capitalism was hosting him here and to do a couple of workshops. And it's kind of funny. I contacted Tim because we had talked a little bit, and I was like, Tim, I really want to hang out with you and chat with you and all of this. Tim's a busy guy, but he said, I'm getting to the airport, and we can meet up. And I said, okay, I'm going to pick you up at the airport. And I'll take you to lunch, and we'll do the thing. I ended up kind of chauffeuring him around that whole thing. and it was wonderful. You know, getting some one-on-one time with Tim is really an experience. And, you know, by the end of it, I think I was taking him back to the airport. I said, hey, Tim, I just sold my agency, and man, I don't know what's next. I really don't know what I want to do. And you seem like somebody who knows how to work on that issue. And he said, you know, everything about True Purpose Institute is very non-salesy, because everything kind of comes back to some form of asking your soul, whatever label you want to put on that, like a trusted source, what feels right, what feels purposeful, what feels right. And the timing was absolutely impeccable, because it was about a month before a True Purpose Institute coach training was about to start. And you know, Tim said the cool thing is, a big part of that training, along with everything True Purpose Institute does, you really have to do it yourself, learn it yourself, before you can possibly teach it to other people. And so at the time, I did it mostly to learn my own purpose. I thought, well, and why not pick up some formal coaching skills? It's funny, in 14 years of business, I never went to business school, and you know, I'd done some workshops and things, but I didn't really have a lot of formal training for leadership or coaching. And so I thought, well, wherever I go next, like, it's bound to be useful. But by the end of that training, it's a 3-month program. Not only did I find my own purpose, but I realized I loved coaching. I had brought on a couple of practicum clients. It felt so rich and meaningful, and just well, I'll pause there if you want another.
Yeah. Well, actually, I want to learn more about that. So what is it like to actually work with clients and to help them find their purpose?
It's incredible. You know, one of the things I really like about the True Purpose process is that it is structured in a way. I mean, it was designed by a mathematician, right? But there's so much room within each. There's 5 main stages that you go through or take a client through. And there's so much room in each one of those for a personal experience. And as you know, like, it's a very deep introspection, a deep personal journey, self-exploration, self-awareness. And it all starts with getting to know your ego, or your conscious mind, or the parts of the psyche that are blocking the access to a deeper purpose, or to what the soul really wants. And that, you know, I didn't study psychology or anything, so that work was just incredible for me at a personal level. And then that is some of the work, you know, I realized that in of itself can have this incredible transformational effect on a client. So that, even in just a few weeks, right, because that process might take 3 or 4 weeks to get through, you know, some of the initial ego work, that can have its own transformation. And then it blows open the doors to this deep soul discovery, which is incredible. And you know, it was for me, but it's not, you know, at the end of that process, yes, it's a process with 5 clear stages and 12 weeks and all of that. But what it really does is open up the doors for a lifelong journey. And that's what's incredible. And it gives tools, you know. So when I work with a client, I feel like I'm not really telling them what their purpose is at all. I'm just helping them reveal it by accessing their trusted source, whether that's their soul, or God, or a guardian angel, or, you know, whatever they believe in. It's an incredibly inclusive framework, and that really matches up with me personally, because I've just always been very curious and open-minded about different belief systems. So there's this really fun, like, curious exploration part of it for me, which is like, what do you believe? What is your deepest belief? And like, how can that inform the rest of your life? That's incredible.
Would you give an example of someone who you've taken through the process?
Yeah. So one of my clients, one of my initial corporate clients, is a company. It's a manufacturer outside of Chicago, and they hired me to train a couple of their people, and one of them is the floor manager. So he manages about 200 people across 2 different shifts. You know, so it's a lot of responsibility. And you know, he really hadn't done. He was a religious Christian, but he hadn't really done this kind of introspection. So a lot of new things I was introducing to him. The idea of meditation, which he really grabbed onto, particularly because he's from Mexico, so English is his second language. So some of the journaling techniques didn't work as well. But he loved meditation. That's another great thing about True Purpose is there are all these different techniques, and all you need is one of them to work. So we found one that worked, and he finished the process a couple months ago. We were just catching up the other day, and he said, I still meditate every week. I still talk to my trusted source, and it's helped him. He described some situations that have come up recently where all of this work really helped him. It helped how he could see things differently, how he could understand how he was showing up, how he was reacting, and change the way he moved through that story. But when we were working together, he told me a story. First of all, the company is a very conscious company, and they, when I said, "Hey, what's a good outcome here?" They said, "Well, among other things, if this helps him be a better father, that's a win for us." So, I mean, that just lights me up. I mean, that's the kind of company I want to work with. That's the influence I think a conscious company can actually have on the world, is creating a culture of love. And lo and behold, maybe halfway through the process, 4 or 5 weeks into the process, he's telling me that it was his birthday, and his 10-year-old son gave him a card, and he had to, in the card he wrote some things. He said, "Dad, I'm so glad you're more patient with me. You spend more time with me. You're more loving." And my client had actually, in the very beginning, recognized that he was pretty hard on his son. I mean, we could call it tough love, but it was very just masculine, kind of tough love energy. And he knew that wasn't always the best. And he kind of got that from his father. So this, I don't know, I don't want to use the word maybe softening, but this expansion, this expansion of like, oh, there are different ways that he could interact. And so that just, from the company standpoint of wanting that, and then from his son, I mean, what better validation is there than his son actually saying that? And then that actually all ended up being, later on, turning into a whole thing that he designed on his own about recreating the family values, and the son voluntarily not spending less time on his iPad so they could have more quality family time together. And and I didn't even, that was like after the fact he told me that. I was just like, oh my God. So.
Wow. That must have been pretty powerful to receive as a purpose coach.
Oh man, that to me, that's where the juice is. That's everything. Yeah.
Awesome. Would you mind just sharing a little bit about him and how his purpose actually, showed up for him on the job or in other areas, and beyond his family?
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess, again, I mean, I feel like the external reflections are some of the most powerful. And so certainly after we had a session together, because he would do the sessions while he was at work, but just in general, like he got other people excited in doing the work. And I think this might lead to some more engagements with them, because they saw how he showed up. They saw how it lit him up. They saw how his demeanor changed, how he was more thoughtful and more circumspect, and how, especially as a manager who, I think also kind of brought that heavy hand previously more so, found different ways, more diplomatic ways, more constructive ways to work through issues and get the team together. And so they saw that radiant energy from him, and it wasn't like anything he said, and maybe some things he did, but I think mostly it was just, he would just light up after our work together, and then just ongoing.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that is the proof. Like, it's showing up at the being level. So it's like, it's not up here for him. It's down in his, his heart, his belly, his gonads. Like, he's just, he's becoming who he really is. That's awesome. So I was wondering if you could share just a little bit about what it was like to, go through the training to become a purpose coach and, be a part of this True Purpose Institute community.
Yeah, I really love that too. The way it's structured, it's virtual, which is great. I think I was one of the first classes where they switched over to video, which was wonderful, and then we could all see each other. And I like how it's structured. There's basically three components to the class. There's the main big class, and then there's a buddy system that's worked into everything. And actually now I've started doing group coaching as well, and I incorporate that same buddy system into mine. It works very well, so everybody buddies up. And I've actually been collecting buddies from my different trainings. I talked to my buddy from True Purpose training 2 days ago, so we still stay in touch. And then there's a mastermind component of it. So, and then you have these two absolute master coaches, Audrey and Chris, who are just incredible. Chris is my ongoing mentor. So then you essentially, it is intense. I'm not going to deny that because it's 12 weeks, which would normally just be the amount of time it more or less takes to get through to take a client through just learning their own purpose. But in addition to learning your own purpose, you're also learning how to do it.
Wow.
And I think it is optional whether or not you want to bring a practicum client on. I would recommend that because working with your buddy is great, but I think it's even more powerful and feels even more real to bring on a practicum client. And to me, that was a big part of it. I still am in touch with my first practicum client. And I often remind him how important he was for me, because he was the person who really made me feel like a coach.
Yeah.
And when he made it all the way through the process, that I think was the moment I was like, wow, I can do this. And it really has this incredible impact.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. And then, and so, your involvement with the community of coaches doesn't end when your thing is over, right? When the training is over, like you're still doing stuff with them. Like, could you share what it's like to be a part of this, group of colleagues?
Oh, absolutely. The True Purpose Institute is a really intentionally structured organization, and it is. Tim used the word, I was talking to him about it last year at some point, and he used the word permeable. So on the one hand, it's designed very much so that there's really no, Tim is not like the figurehead of this organization. He doesn't want it that way. He considers himself a stakeholder along with everybody else. And it's permeable in the sense, he was actually saying, the way to tell if something's a cult is try to leave and see how they treat you. And True Purpose Institute is, you can come and go, and there's all sorts of different configurations, and a lot of the people, maybe all of the coaches, really have their own practice. So the True Purpose Institute is there to support you, to do ongoing training, and then eventually, if you complete certification, you can become more involved. You can actually use it for business development, for leads. You can contribute blogs and get more involved in that way. And then the community itself is just so tremendous. I mean, there's various different ways that the community stays together, and I've gotten to know several of the other coaches and people who have, at all different levels of expertise, and all of them. It's really fun because they all bring something different. They all have a different body of focus or expertise that they bring to it, and that's I'm learning as much from them, I think, ongoing as I talk to them and set up different calls as I even did in the initial training. So very supportive group. Yeah,
I mean, I find that as a fellow purpose person, like that's the interaction with colleagues is because there's so many coaches that are just like they're by themselves. I mean, maybe they're in a mastermind here or there, but like they work by themselves. They've developed their own process. They don't have any kind of like real colleagues, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about what you've created or what the TPI community has created is that like there's actual an ongoing kind of connection between the guides. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Well, Andy, that's all I have today, but I want to thank you for being part of this Two Guys from Chicago Talk About Purpose.
Hey, let's not make it a one-time thing. Let's do it again.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to create something else.
Brandon, thank you for everything you do to push the purpose community forward. It's really amazing.
You got it, man. All right, Andy. Take care.
All right. Cheers.